Hi, everyone. It's Tuesday, the end of conference. We're a little dead, but
We're here.
we're here and we want to share some more nuggets and some kind of an overarching theme that, as we were reflecting, came to mind in what we want to share with you. So, we decided that overall, the theme is keep the joy or get some joy. Because we often squelch the joy. So we want to not squelch the joy based on our urgency and agendas that we typically have going into working with our kids. So how do we foster engaged readers and writers in these first lessons? There's a couple quotes that I want to share with you that were super important to me. One is by Julia Duatel. Children's emotional response to reading and writing reflect their experiences. And those experiences come from us in those first lessons. And another one is from Allington, and that is, does every struggling reader leave the building each day with at least one book they can read and that they also want to read? So really, that is our job as well. So what we want to do is share with you some highlights of what we need to be doing to set the emotional stage for our students and engage them from the very start in roaming and in first lessons. So let's get that going.
All right. So I think we all know this is important, but I think sometimes it gets lost with all the stress that we put on ourselves to get kids going and make sure they're looking and make sure they're reading. So we really need to remember that it's our job to create authentic relationships with the kids, because they're not going to feel safe if we don't do that. They need to feel safe to be transformers. So really, we are pleading with you to make sure that you know your child as a person and also how that helps them relate to books. And in roaming, using lots of books with them. So reading to them and them reading to you, and then having authentic conversations is a great way to build relationships with kids. And it is imperative to help with that acceleration.
So the other thing that we kind of mentioned the other day was writing more than one episode in roaming lessons. But part of writing is thinking about being super creative and using all your ingenuity, as Clay has asked us to do. So are you expanding on books? Like, I'm thinking of a time with Mr. Mustard Man and the Ketchup King, and all of a sudden, mustard's gross. What about cheese? So then go with it and start talking about, well, what would it be like if we had Mr. Cheese Man? What would he do? And same thing, right? You might add on to stories and what happened next. Like, I know a lot of times Sammy at the farm, and I'll put on the end, like, what's Sammy going to say about that? Like, oh, nasty, I'm sitting in a thing of tomato juice. You might change the point of view of characters. Like, Mother Bear her perspective of being worried when Baby Bear goes fishing, and what are they going to do? What if Baby Bear falls in? You might label nonfiction, take a little copy of a page, and maybe they have a couple labels on, and you add on some more. But don't forget to make the child your coworker, and that's really how we end up slipping that away, is because we want to do so much problem solving and have kids solving words that we don't get those fun and exciting messages and get kids to really feel like authors and writers from the start. The other part is about books. And are you choosing books that are bringing out positivity and conversations with children? Do you ever see kids just chuckle at a book? It's thinking back about knowing the kids well, like, kids kind of sassy. So you get sassy books. And you kind of can see, like, did it work? Like, is that one that really got their attention? Are they laughing, smiling? Did they mention it again? Like, a little kid the other day came back in and he goes, "You little copycat." We hadn't even read the book for 2 days, and he still kind of got that little piece of language and thinks it's funny. So it's things like that. And a possible squelch, making them do too much work, either in reading or in writing. So stop that. It's not helping.
All right. And this one will be familiar to you. So many of us have heard Mary Fried talk about the 5 R's, and we're going to send you a little poster of that. So to remind you that these kids that are buckets at first when they come into us are used to having behaviors that avoid becoming transformers. For example, you've seen kids, cough when it's time to do something that would be helpful, or they turn the page as if like a turtle is actually controlling their hand, or they're constantly looking at you to make sure that they're right or that they're doing what they should be. So we need to make sure that we start to replace those behaviors with ones that are more strategic. So hopefully the handout we send to you along with this video will be helpful in reminding you how to do that.
So Free's session talked about the first 6 days. I just am going to add on to Alyssa. She's probably looking at me like, what are you doing?
It's not in the notes.
But just to eradicate those dumb behaviors. Like, don't want them after those first 6 weeks. None of those overt things, because that's going to get in their way.
Okay. So whatever you're seeing gets in the way, those first 2 weeks are about eradicating them for sure. So here's the thing. We're going to not squelch the joy. We're going to create these engaged readers and writers who want to take books home and talk about characters and everything like that. And then, whoopsies, my husband. If the child is not accelerating, okay, so when we're talking accelerating, like you're starting to see some of these initiating behaviors, you're seeing them move up these levels. If you're not seeing that in the first 6 weeks, who should you call? Your teacher leaders. So call us. We want to get in on that. We have a renewed excitement about acceleration and getting kids going, and that's what this is all about. So
we can do it.
We can do it. Let's go. Woo!